Cyfarchion pawb, greetings everyone. Bore da, prynhawn da, noswaith da, nos da, beth bynnag yw'r amser, ble bynnag yn y byd yr ydych chi'n gwrando, croeso i Gymru. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, whatever time of day it is, wherever you're listening, welcome to Wales. Croeso i Gymru ar diwrnod arbennig yn ein blwyddyn, dydd Gwyl Dewi yn dathlu ein cenedl. Welcome to Wales on our celebratory National Day, St David's Day, recognising our patron saint, St David, and in Welsh he's called Dewi Sant. First, a bit of housekeeping. You should be hearing me speaking clearly and see a presentation of slides, mostly photos, which as the session progresses would show you our beautiful and magical country. To get best reception, you should not turn on input from your end, so no video camera or input audio. You can communicate with us by sending a message via the little speech bubble. Click on it and you'll be able to type a text message to us. We are Beyond the Border International Storytelling Festival. I'm Eirwen Malin and I chair the board of volunteer directors that help make all the activities we undertake to promote storytelling happen. Our biggest activity is the festival itself, which runs here in the Vale of Mabon every 2 years during the first weekend of July, and this year is one of those years. We bring together storytellers and story listeners from all over the world for a magical weekend in the grounds of a fairy tale castle by the sea. What could be better? Part of our mission statement says that we bring the world to Wales and take Wales to the world. Today is about trying a new way of taking Wales to the world. This is our first live worldwide broadcast. And we'd be pleased if you can get clicking on that speech bubble to let us know who you are, where you're listening, and what you think of the experience. We hope that at the end of the stories we'll have time to pass on some of your messages. Our storyteller today is Cath Little, who's going to tell a couple of her favourite stories from Wales, and I'll introduce her later. We're in the village of Gwenfor, not far from Cardiff, the capital city in south of Wales. It's spring here, and the spring bulbs are coming up with plenty of daffodils, Wales' national flower, on show. There is a small in-person audience here, and hopefully a bigger one listening live around the world. Dewi Sant, St David, gave us our national flower, and there are many stories about him. He's no ordinary patron saint. His birth was dramatic. His mother, Non, who later became a saint herself, went to the seashore in Pembrokeshire in West Wales to give birth, and the birth pains were so strong it is said she had gouged holes in the rocks with her bare hands. Dewi was born with a clap of thunder and a flash of lightning that struck the rock in two. Wales has long been known for the excellence of its preachers, and it may be that Dewi was one of the first. One of the best known stories about him is that one day he was preaching, and he must have been good because there was a large crowd gathered, and they complained that they couldn't see him. Miraculously, the ground beneath Dewi rose up so that all could see and hear clearly. Hopefully, we don't need a miracle for you to hear our storyteller. The wonders of communication technology can share the ancient art form worldwide. I'll now hand over to Cath Little, one of Wales's favourite storytellers and a regular at our festival. Just give us a few seconds while we swap chairs. I get a comfy one now. I'll be back with you at the end to share the messages you've sent and after we've all enjoyed Cath's stories. So, boneddigion, boneddigesau, ladies and gentlemen, Cath Little.
Diolch Eirwen. Happy St David's Day. Dydd Gwyl Dewi hapus a croeso i Gymru. Once upon a time. Amser maith yn ôl. Once upon a time, Culhwch loved Olwen. And Olwen loved Culhwch, so that was good. But Olwen's father did not want them to marry. Olwen's father was the chief of all the giants, Ysbyddaden Pen Cawr. And when Culhwch came to ask for Olwen, He said, yes, you can marry her, but first you must do this, and proceeded to give Culhwch 39 impossible tasks. And of all those tasks that the giant gave Culhwch to do, the one I like best to hear of is the search for Mabon. Because the giant asked Culhwch to find Mabon, and Mabon had been lost for so long. No living man, no living woman had ever heard of him. But Culhwch, well, he had help with the tasks. He had help from Olwen, and he had help from his cousin. And his cousin was a Brenin Arthur himself. And when Arthur heard that Mabon was lost, Arthur said, no living man, no living woman has ever heard of Mabon. He has been lost for so long. But there are animals in this land who have been here from the beginning. And if they were asked, they'd help us. And Arthur said he would help Culhwch, and he looked round his round table and he looked for people to go on this quest to find the oldest animals, to find Mabon, who was lost. And he chose Kai the brave, who wasn't scared of anything. And he chose Gurhir, who could speak the language of every living creature. And he sent them to find the oldest animals. So Kai and Gurhir, they walked the land, this land. They came one day to a blackbird. And Gurhir asked in the language of the blackbird, oh, do you know or have you heard of Mabon Modron's son, who from his mother's side was taken when time had just begun? And the old blackbird, he lifted up his head and he said, I've been here a long time. When I first came, there was an iron anvil, massive, and no blacksmith has worked on it except for myself. For every morning I brush my wingtip against it. Every evening I sharpen my beak against it. And all the time I've been here, I've worn the anvil to the size of a nut. Look how small it is. I've been here all that time, but I've never heard of Mabon, son of the mother. But as you've come from Arthur, I'll help you. There's someone even older than me. Follow. The blackbird flew, and Kai the brave and Gurhir, the speaker of all languages, followed the blackbird, and they walked this land. And they came to the stump of an old oak tree, and by the oak was the stag. And Gurhir spoke in the language of the stag. Oh, do you know or have you heard of Mabon Modron's son, who from his mother's side was taken when time had just begun? The old stag, he lifted up his heavy antlered head and said, I've been here a long time. When I first came, there were no trees at all. All there was one little acorn. And I watched the acorn grow and grow into a sapling, into an oak, into a mighty oak of 100 branches. And I watched the oak fall and fall again into Mother Earth, until all that's left is, as you can see, this reddened stump. I've been here all that time, but I've never heard of Mabon, son of the mother. But as you've come from Arthur, I'll help. There's someone older than me. Follow. And the men, Kai and Gurhir, followed the stag over the land, this land. And the stag led them to a hollow tree, all twisted around with ivy. And there in the dark was the owl. And Gurhir asked in the language of the owl, Oh, do you know, or have you heard of Mabon, Modron's son, who from his mother's side was taken when time had just begun? The old owl, she opened one eye and she said, I've been here a long time. When I first came, there were trees in this valley. The people came from across the seas and cut down every single one of them. But the trees grew back again. I watched them. And then people came from across the seas and cut down every one of them. But the trees grew back again. I've seen 3 woods grow in this valley. I've been here all that time, but I have never heard of Mabon, son of the mother. But as you've come from Arthur, I'll help you. There's someone even older than me. And now she spread her wings swiftly, silently. She flew over the land, this land. And the men followed. And she led them to a rocky place. And there among the stones and the boulders was the eagle. And Gudhir asked in the language of the eagle, Oh, do you know, or have you heard of Mabon, Modron's son, who from his mother's side was taken when time had just begun? Old Eagle lifted up his head and said, I've been here a long time. When I first came, I stood on the tops of the mountains and pecked at the stars at night. But all the time I've been here, the mountains itself has worn away to the size of this boulder that you see before you. I've been here all that time, but I have never heard of Mabon, son of the mother. But as you've come from Arthur, I'll help. There is someone older than me. I'll tell you how I met him. One day when I was flying over Aberhavren, I spotted in the river a salmon, and thinking it would make a tasty meal, I swooped down, sunk my talons into the back, but the salmon, being so powerful, so strong, pulled me under the waters of the River Severn. I had to struggle to get free. And when at last I was free, I called on all the eagle hosts to make war on the salmon. The wise old salmon called on all the salmon hosts to make peace with the eagles, knowing that peace is better than war. He is the salmon of Llyn Lliw. I'll take you to him. An eagle soared, and the men watched his progress in the sky, and when he descended, they followed until they came to the shores of Llyn Lliw, and there was the salmon. And Gudhir asked in the language of the salmon, Oh, do you know, or have you heard of Mabon, Modron's son, who from his mother's side was taken when time had just begun? And the old salmon said, Yes, I do know Mabon, and I think I know where he is. When I swim up the River Severn and come to the bend of the river at Caer Loyw, there is a stone house there, and in that stone house, someone unjustly imprisoned. I hear the crying. I think it is Mabon. Jump on my back, boys, I'll take you there. And the salmon was so enormous that Kai and Gudhir, brave Kai and Gudhir, they could fit on his back. And he swam with them up Aberhavren till he came to the bend of the river at Gloucester. And there at the stone house they heard sounds of suffering and woe. And Kai, brave Kai, called out, Who is lamenting in that house of stone? And the answer came back, Mabon. Kai broke down the prison walls and carried suffering, skin and bone Mabon in his arms. He carries him all the way to Caerleon, to Arthur and Gwenhwyvar, where he was healed and where he was made well again. And so Mabon was found. Mabon was found with the help of brave Kai, and Gurhir, who could speak all the languages, and he was found with the help of the oldest animals of this place, and they are the blackbird of Kilgurry, the stag of Rhydynbre, the owl of Cwm Cawlyd, the eagle of Gwernabwy, and the salmon of Llyn Lliw. The oldest of all, the oldest of animals is the salmon. Diolch am wrando. Ar lan y môr mae rhosys cochion. Ar lan y môr mae lilies gwynion. Ar lan y môr fy nhariad unne yn cysgu'r nos a chodi'r bore. Ar lan y môr mae carreg o wastad, lle bym yn siarad, gair am cariad, o amgylch hwn fy dyf y lili, ac ambell sbregyn o rosmari. Llawn iawn yw'r môr o sŵn a chregyn, llawn iawn yw'r wy o wyn a melyn, llawn iawn i'r coed o ddail a blodau, llawn iawn o gariad o'i fyne. Down by the sea red roses grow. Down by the sea white lilies grow. Down by the sea my true love waits for me. Down by the sea there's a big flat stone where I talk to my love. And all around the stone are the rosemary and the lily. Well, the sea is full of sand and rocks. An egg is full of white and yellow. A wood is full of trees and flowers. And I am full of love. Llawn iawn i'r môr o sŵn a chregyn, llawn iawn i'r wy o wyn a melyn, llawn iawn i'r coed o ddail a blodau, llawn iawn o gariad o'i fyne. Once upon a time, down by the seashore, on the very first day of summer, a prince was fishing. On the very first day, Prince Elfin was fishing, trying to fish for a salmon of luck, because until that moment he had been very unlucky. And there was something in the weir, and he waded out to see what it might be, and there was a bundle of skins, and he picked it up, and there in his arms was a baby. A baby! A baby bach! He said, "It's a baby." And the baby looked up at him with green, grey-blue eyes like the sea and spoke. "I am a baby." Prince Elfin nearly dropped the bundle. "How can you speak and be so tiny?" "I can speak," said the baby, "and I can tell you stories and sing you songs. Fi yw storiwr gorau yn y byd." "Well," said Prince Elfin, "then you're worth a whole sea full of salmon to me. And there is such a light shining from you. I will call you Taliesin, Shining One." And Prince Elfin, he carried that baby, that shining baby, so carefully, so gently, all the way back home to his father, King Gwyddno Garanhir. And when he was home at the castle, they put the baby down, and all the court listened to the baby's story. And this is the story that baby told. Amser maith and all. Once upon a time. Once upon a time there was a very wise woman, and her name was Cath Wen. Cath Wen. Cath Wen knew pretty much everything. She knew the names of the flowers and plants, how they could heal and how they could harm too. She knew what lies at the bottom of the ocean, the deepest, deepest ocean. She knew the name of the stars, where they were going and why. Cath Wen was a mother, a little son, Morfran. And she wanted her son to be as wise, if not wiser, than herself. She wished for a son that he would have the gift of awen, of inspiration. So she decided to make it for him. She filled a cauldron with water from the lake Llyn Tegid and hung it from a hook over a fire in her round house. To make the gift of awen, the potion of inspiration, it would take her a year to gather the ingredients and cook them up into a potion of inspiration. She needed help. She found an old man, Murda, to watch the fire, and a young boy to watch the fire. And the young servant boy, his name was Gwion Bach. They started their work in the middle of winter. Cath Wen, she went out into the fields and the woods, down by the sea, down by the rivers, collecting the magical ingredients for the potion of inspiration. And what did she collect in the winter? Scarlet holly berries, mistletoe, crystal, snowflakes. She gathered them all in, put them into the potion, stirred the potion around and around. Make my son the best storyteller in the world. Give him the gift of awen. To the baby, she said, when this potion is ready, you will know all the stories that there are. To the old man and the young boy, her servants, she told them to keep on working. Keep on working. Keep that fire burning. All the way through winter, Cath Wen worked and searched, and when she thought of the songs her son would sing, she had strength to go on. And winter turned, as it does, to spring. And what did she gather in spring? The first snowdrops, the first new blades of grass, the first buds, the first flowers, golden daffodils. She put them into the potion. She stirred it round and around. Give my son the gift of inspiration. Let him always know the right words to say, the right songs to sing. To the baby, she said, you will be so wise. To the servants, the old man and the young boy Gwion Bach, she said, keep on working. Don't let that fire go out. All the way through spring she worked. When she thought of the songs her son would sing, she kept on going. And spring turned as it does to summer. And what did she collect in summer? Blossom from the hawthorn and the apple and the pear. Wild roses. Golden wheat from the fields. Honey from the bees. She put them into the potion. She stirred it round and around. Give my son the gift of inspiration, of awen. When she thought of the stories he would know, she kept on going. And summer turned to autumn. And what did she gather in autumn? Hazelnuts and acorns and shiny conkers, autumn leaves in all their variations of colour. And she spoke to her babe and she said, when this is finished, Morfran, you will be so wise. 3 drops on your little tongue and you will have inspiration. But to the servants, the old man, Morza, and the young boy, Gwion Bach, she said, keep on working, keep on working. Until, at last, at long last, the year was up and the potion was nearly ready. All the ingredients in, Ceridwen, exhausted, closed her eyes, just for a bit. And the baby slept beside her, and the old man was sleeping too, the old serving man. It was only the little boy servant, Gwion Bach, who was awake. Gwion Bach looked into the cauldron, and the potion began to bubble. And at that moment, the potion was ready. He gazed into the cauldron, and suddenly, without warning, it spat. 3 boiling drops landing on his finger, and his finger was burning. He put his finger in his mouth to cool it, and when he did, he swallowed down the gift. He swallowed down the magic. Awen, the gift of inspiration. And he felt as if his heart and his head would burst. He knew all the stories, all the songs. And there was room in his heart and his head for compassion for Ceridwen, whose work he had ruined. He felt like his heart would burst, and at that same moment the cauldron itself began to crack, all its work being done. And that was the sound that woke up Ceridwen. The minute she opened her eyes, she saw exactly what had happened. Because this little serving boy, Gwion Bach, he looked so different. He looked so shining, like there was a light coming out of him. She said, come here, you little thief. But the little boy, he ran. He ran as fast as his legs could carry him, away from Ceridwen. And of course, she ran after. Well, you never seen such a chase as Ceridwen and Gwion Bach, up the hill, down the hill, over the fields. And he ran as she ran, and he ran and he ran and he ran until the breath was ragged in his throat and his legs were like jelly. And for a mother, she was a really good runner. She was running with all the injustice of it, and he was running for fear. And they ran, and the little boy ran, and the mother ran, and the little boy Gwion Bach, he thought, I wish I could run a bit faster than this. I wish I could run like those hares on the mountains. And when he thought that, a new energy coursed through him. He grew smaller. His skin was covered in fur. His ears were long. He was a hare, a boy in a hare. And he ran as fast as hares can run. And as he ran, and as he leapt, all the songs and the stories of the hares were his. All their knowledge. He had it. When Ceridwen saw what he had done, she could not let him go. She turned herself into a greyhound. And she ran after him. And she ran and he ran and she ran and he ran. And that greyhound trapped the little boy inside the hare so that there was only a river at his back. And there she was, snarling, teeth bared in front of him. And the little boy inside the hare thought, if I were a fish. And the moment he thought that, a new energy ran through him. He got smaller and smaller and covered in silver scales, a fin and a tail. He was a fish, but not just any old fish. He was a salmon. And he leapt away from her into the water. And as he swam and leapt and dived. All the songs and stories of the salmon were his. All the knowledge was his, the boy in the salmon. When she saw what he had done, she could not let him get away. She turned herself into an otter, and she swam after him. Well, they swam through that river. They swam and they swam. And the otter, powerful, she swam with the injustice of it, reaching out for the little boy and the fish, and he swam as a salmon. But any moment now he knew she was going to catch him, and so he turned his fish's eyes up into the sky, and he thought, if I were a bird, I could fly from her. A new energy filled him, and fins became wings, and he took flight, a boy in a bird. And as he soared up, up into the limitless, as it seemed to him, blue sky, all the songs and all the stories of the birds, he knew them, they were his, all the knowledge of birds, all their languages. He soared up and up and up. But when she saw what he had done, she could not let him get away. She turned herself into a hawk. And the boy and the little bird flew away from the hawk, but in 1, 2, 3 beats of her wings, he felt the shadow of her over him. And then he knew the truth, that he could not run from Cath Little. He could not swim from her. He could not fly from her. His only chance was to hide. And the little boy and the bird looked round the sky, and there was nowhere to hide, so he turned back down to the earth. And he looked far, far down below, and far, far down below him he saw a farmyard, and on the farmyard floor scattered thousands and thousands of little grains of wheat. If I were a grain of wheat. New energy filled him, and he shrunk till he was the true kernel of himself, a boy in a seed, and he fell from the sky. And in that falling, all the stories and the songs of living green growing things were his, all the knowledge, the boy in the seed, and he dropped and lay amongst his brothers and sisters, thousands of them. When she saw what he had done, Cath Little turned herself into a hen, and she saw the one grain of wheat that was the boy. It shone. She looked at it, pecked at it, and swallowed him whole, and made herself herself again, Cath Little. The little boy in the seed, in the belly of Cath Little. If I were a baby again. And a new energy filled him, and he swam in the seeds of his mother's belly for 9 months. And at the end of that time, Cath Little gave birth. And she knew who it was that she gave birth to. You're that boy. The boy that was a hare, that was a fish, that was a bird, that was wheat, a grain of wheat. You are the most beautiful thing I have ever made, said Cath Little. But I cannot stand the sight of you. All my work wasted, from my firstborn Mabon, all my work stolen from me. Ceridwen did not know what to do with this baby of hers. In the end, she sewed some skins together, made a boat, put the baby in the boat, and the boat on the river. And the baby in the boat sailed down the river until one morning at the beginning of summer, the baby found himself in a weir, caught by a prince, Prince Elfin. "And so I am here," said the baby. And all the people in the court who had listened to that story at the court of Gwyddno Garanhir and Elfin, they applauded and cheered. They said, "That is a good story." And that baby grew up. Taliesin grew up to be the most wonderful storyteller. And when Ceridwen saw what he had done, she was glad. As long as the story was told, she knew that she, Ceridwen, would always be remembered. For as Taliesin sang, "I am Taliesin, I was born and then I died and then I lived again. I was swallowed by the black hen. What she gave me I can never repay. What she gave me I can always praise. Ceridwen, Ceridwen. And my words will last till the end of time, and my words will last till the end." And his words will last till the end of time, and his words will last till the end. Diolch am wrando.
Diolch yn fawr, Cath, am storiau mor hyfryd sy'n rhoi blas iawn ar Gymru. Thank you very much, Cath, for two lovely stories that will really give everybody a taste of Wales. You've obviously been all listening so hard that you haven't sent us very many messages yet. So let's hope a few people will send messages in now. But I think one message that we had from Mary and Stephen Ashton captured what we were hoping to achieve. They said, "Enraptured, the best thing, Cath in the comfort of our own home." So that's lovely. Thank you very much, you two. We know we have people listening in Ohio, Judy and Tom Tarowski, and Annie Stewart listening in Melbourne. It'd be interesting to hear where some of the other people who are listening are from. Well, we've got names at the moment. So please send us the messages. The line will be open for a little bit longer now. But other than that, I need to remind you about our wonderful storytelling festival. Cath will be there. Yeah. And as I think probably most of the people in this room will be there. Beyond the Border happens in the Castle of St Donat's, not far from here, 1st to the 3rd of July this year. Please come along and join us. It's not too late to book your tickets from wherever you are in the world. I know some of you will be regulars anyway. So thank you very much for listening. Hope you've enjoyed being part of St David's Day. And maybe we'll do this again sometime soon as a first test. Please do send us a message how it was for you. We understand that some people didn't get the visuals right at the beginning, and let's hope that the beautiful photographs that our company manager Becca has collected together, the ones that you saw in the second half, made up for the ones that you missed in the first half. So good night, noswaith dda, pawb. Diolch yn fawr am gwrando. Thank you for listening.